Oh, hell. This should be fun. Hello world, my name is David Dorn and this is Preposterous, which is not your typical Bible study. Today we are close to finishing Jesus' Sermon on the Mount. As we near the end of this really long and amazing sermon, Jesus brings up hell. In fact, Jesus talks more about hell than anyone else in the Bible, which means I get to talk about hell. Matthew 7:13 through 23. Go through the narrow gate. The gate that leads to destruction is broad and the road wide. So many people enter through it. But the gate that leads to life is narrow and the road difficult, so few people find it. Watch out for false prophets. They come to you dressed like sheep, but inside they are vicious wolves. You will know them by their fruit. Do people get bunches of grapes from thorny weeds, or do they get figs from thistles? In the same way, every good tree produces good fruit, and every rotten tree produces bad fruit. A good tree can't produce bad fruit, and a rotten tree can't produce good fruit. Every tree that doesn't produce good fruit is chopped down and thrown into the fire. Therefore, you will know them by their fruit. Not everybody who says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter into the kingdom of heaven. Only those who do the will of my Father who is in heaven will enter. On the judgment day, many people will say to me, Lord, Lord, didn't we prophesy in your name and expel demons in your name and do lots of miracles in your name? Then I will tell them, I've never known you. Get away from me, you people who do wrong. Now, there are a number of ideas here. In fact, we could probably make about 3 different studies out of just this one section, but there's a theme that's weaving throughout this whole section of verses, and it is who is making it to heaven and who is making it to hell. The first idea here is it's easy to go to hell. It doesn't take much work, and unfortunately, lots of people are going there. Now, I don't believe that Jesus is out to scare the people listening, but to challenge them to pursue heaven. Most people are complacent until they are challenged. So I challenge you to live for heaven instead of just settling for hell. Next, Jesus warns of false prophets, and for most of us, it would be very helpful if that was explained. So have you ever seen Christians who profess Jesus but in reality hate everybody? Or what about those who market Jesus like one of those as seen on TV commercials? You know, like for only $19.95 you can have this prayer cloth or something. Or how about those Christians who use their power and influence to manipulate and violate the innocent? Those are who Jesus is referring to as false prophets. How can you pick them out of a crowd? Well, you have to look at their fruit. I'm not talking about ninjas or board games or even actual fruit. I'm talking about people's actions. You see, Jesus says those who are really in God's family are like a good tree. And a good tree produces good fruit. What kind of fruit? Well, remember everything that Jesus has talked about from episode 2 through episode 24? That is what he's referring to. If we are truly in Christ, those things he taught us are developing like fruit in our lives. Your actions do not save you, but they are evidence to whether or not you are saved. And Jesus warns that bad trees are chopped down and burned. And lastly, Jesus said there will be some who will stand before him calling out his name. They may have grown up with Jesus in their homes, or perhaps even having gone to church every week, and yet he will say, I never knew you. How is that possible? You know, in our Christian culture, we teach people it's enough to just believe in Jesus. But that's not what Jesus teaches. According to Jesus, it takes faith in him, and that's a lifetime commitment. Paul says in Romans 10:6, because if you confess with your mouth Jesus is Lord, and in your heart you have faith that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. And in Ephesians 2:8 through 9, you are saved by God's grace because of your faith. This salvation is God's gift. It's not something you possessed. It's not something you did that you can be proud of. Faith is not a momentary endeavor, but something that takes a lifetime to lean into. There will be those who know about Jesus, but who have never put their faith in him. Instead, many are straddlers. They put some of their faith in God and some of their faith in their money or their relationships or themselves. And that doesn't work. The only way to heaven is through placing all of your faith in Jesus. Why? Because our actions will never be good enough. Yet Jesus is good enough for us. That's why you place your faith in him and not yourself. It's easy to go to hell. Trust yourself and you will land there pretty quick. Instead, put your faith, your hope, and your life into the one who can handle it. Scary? Yeah, of course. But heaven is worth it. Now it's your turn. In a comment or video response, tell me your thoughts on heaven and hell. What have you heard about it and how do you picture it? If you leave that in a video response, you could end up in next week's episode and with an iTunes gift card. If you like Preposterous, share it with your friends. That is so important. You guys make all the difference. And make sure you subscribe to us here on YouTube, and you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter. All of the links are down below. If you have any questions for me, you can always tweet me at @IamPreposterous. And if you are a small group leader and would like to use Preposterous for your small group, make sure you sign up on our website. Link is down below. May you live for heaven instead of settling for hell. Check out these comments from last week's episode. I hope you have a great day. God bless. The first idea